This is the future.
We're definitely not using that. Ah, dear goodness. Welcome to another episode of Wind Down Wednesday. I'm Sam.
I'm Heather.
And we are going to be talking about a couple different things about the alcoholic beverage industry. But we're also going to be diving into a new wine that I found that Heather decided that she wanted to open.
I really needed it.
Was it a need?
It was hot and it's summer. Okay, for anyone who lives in the Midwest, we are roasting right now.
It's roasting. Not that bad.
It is bad. I walk outside and the air is fire. Okay? Like literal temperature of just you can't breathe. It's so hot.
It's quite hot.
So I needed some Gewürztraminer in my life so I could function.
So, quick backstory on this wine. Yes, this is a Gewürztraminer coming to you from Red Oak Winery out of Door County, Wisconsin. Again, this one they are sourcing again from California. Don't know exactly where in California.
Red Mountain?
Unsure what Red Mountain is, but regardless, it's a Gewürztraminer, and it was one that when I tried it, a lot of Gewürztraminers come across like super sweet. But this one had some really nice flavor to it. It wasn't overly potent in any direction. We'll get into that. But our topic for today, again, is going to be changes in the beverage industry. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is last time when we were up in Door County, we noticed a very interesting change taking place. And if you're really on the wine side or the whiskey side, you've probably noticed some changes going on. So for whiskey, people are noticing that basically you can find a lot of things that were heavily allocated, and now you're starting to see things that are much older age stated, which is interesting. We have feelings about that. So I guess we can get into that part of this first, the changes to the whiskey world. That one, you can find allocated things, but then also some of the really old age stated things that are coming out. It's interesting, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
My thoughts, it might be interesting, but is it actually good?
Yeah.
And I would argue the fact that you don't see cask strength old things indicates that you need to add water.
I feel like you might see cask strength, but it's going to be in the case where, so they had the barrel here and then they had to move it somewhere cooler.
That's the other thing. People move it.
Yeah.
Which, again, call me naive, okay? I'm just a girl, as I like to say. I'm learning, okay? As we all are on this journey of life to learn. And I didn't realize that when there's long age stated products that you could transport the barrel. I assumed you placed it in its home in the rick house and you'd let it stay there until it reached beautiful perfection. But really what happens is you place it somewhere where it's going to get temperature and it's going in and out of the barrel and it's aging and it's like all the glorious science is happening, and then you put it in the cellar.
So not everyone
and I'm not
does
convinced,
that.
Not everyone, but it can't happen.
Yeah, a lot of places do that.
And I feel like that's cheating.
It's very interesting because I'm curious, how much of a difference does it actually make?
That's true.
To have something.
Like, is it worth the price?
Yeah, if I age something for, so 10 years, kind of the rule in the bourbon world is every year you can increase the price by about $10. So if I have a $30 bourbon that's 4 years old, say it's $30. So if I keep aging it, I should be able to charge an additional $10. If I move it to a different location and I'm not losing anything to like the evaporation anymore, I'm not losing much potentially. Yes, you still are paying taxes on it, so there's all of that. But is it actually that much better? I'm not convinced.
I need someone to prove it to me.
Yeah, and then again, there's also some people who are going to say, oh, well, you guys just haven't tried enough things that are super old age stated, blah, 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 blah. Sure, that could be a very fair critique.
Yeah.
However, I just don't think it's going to be worth it.
Again, my understanding of the whole maturation process of whiskey is that you get the flavor from the barrel. Okay, so whatever you have putting into a barrel, it goes in clear. Like, that's a well-known fact if you ever have done a distillery tour. It goes in clear, okay? But you're like, well, that's really strange, Heather. The whiskey I drink has color to it. And you're like, that color is from the barrel. So it's expanding in and out. And it only does that if there's temperature fluctuation, particularly high temperatures.
Yeah. Well, extreme temperatures.
Yes.
So it's
Oh,
interesting. And one of the other things, we're going to jump to the flip side of this. So we see the whiskey world where people are not as interested anymore, and we're seeing older age dated things and allocated things are becoming available. In the wine world, at least in America, this I've been told is an
this is
American thing.
America.
And
Our experience is mostly the United
yeah,
States.
this bothers
Actually,
me.
only really the United States.
This bothers me that the US does this, but going to easier drinking wines. So having wines in a can. And people just want to. Oh, that was almost dangerous. One of my lights just almost fell. It's fine. Um,
Easier drinking wine.
yeah. And that's what in the US culture, people want things that are just easily accessible. They want to have their canned wine or smaller bottles of wine. It's interesting. But also, obviously, there's a little bit of a decline in the interest of wine right now. And what some of the wineries that we've been to in Door County, so Red Oak being one of them, they're starting to incorporate whiskey at their locations to get more people interested in coming to their winery and coming to the wine bar. And I find it really interesting that it's
Hmm.
like, oh, hey, we don't, or people aren't super interested in this, let's lean this way. And they're like, oh, hey, people aren't super interested in this anymore, let's basically change some things up.
Hmm.
It's very interesting that that's kind of the direction that things are going.
A part of it also that makes me wonder that we've seen this specifically in Door County, which is a tourist location.
It is, yes.
And
However,
yes.
two of the wine bars that I love frequenting around here,
Hmm.
they also have a very good selection of cocktails and a good whiskey selection. Not just bourbon, but a good whiskey
Hmm.
selection. One of them actually has some really good Japanese whiskey. So
So again, I think having again a business model like offering more options, perhaps you're drawing other people in. My thought specifically for Door County is that it has become very much like a bachelorette tourist industry.
true.
And while I don't believe that wine or whiskey has either a feminine or masculine side, I think sometimes the public can perceive doing wine tasting on a as a bachelorette experience
Yeah.
versus a bachelor party experience.
Yeah. If you're doing a bachelor party in Door County, you're going to go to the breweries that are up there. You're not going to
Again,
go to the
like
wineries for the
generally
most part.
speaking, for a bachelor party, you're going to do distillery tasting or brewery tasting, while as in a bachelorette, you might do wine tasting. Again, that I don't know if that has at all influenced their business model. This is just me making observations as a tourist and bystander who enjoys drinking wine and whiskey.
So I
But
can tell you why they made these decisions. 'Cause I actually talked with
okay,
the
Red Oak.
yes, I talked with the owner of Red Oak, and then I was talking with basically the floor managers or manager at one of the other wineries that they do have their tasting bar open for the whiskey now, but I don't know how advanced it is because it was not open when we were there. However, the reason they were doing it, at least the reason one of them is transitioning to do it, is because they realize that people just aren't interested in wine anymore. And they're like, we need to have something else that we can offer. So they're going to have the whiskey, and you can buy whiskey there too, which is really cool. Somehow they've gotten some really allocated bottles. No idea how they achieved that, but they
Is there
did.
something about getting a license of selling
I
that
don't
you?
know.
I don't know how Wisconsin allocates their bottles,
Yeah, but
though.
somehow this little place up in Door County scored 3 bottles of Blanton's right out the gun. Just boom. And someone came in, they're like, can I buy all 3 of these? And this location, their winery, they didn't know. They're like, oh, yeah, sure, that's fine. So this guy made off like a bandit and just bought 3 bottles of Blanton's. Then again, remember, they're new to this. Is Blanton's worth it? Is it really need to buy 3 bottles of it? I don't think so. But
Can be good. It comes in a cute bottle. Okay, I'm a sucker.
that is fair.
The little pony on top. It's so cute.
So this winery, Red Oak, is very interesting because I've been passing up on it every single time I've gone to Door County, except for this last time, and I am so glad I went in there.
I guess I think the reason why we were passing it is perhaps its location.
They didn't have as much signage.
There wasn't a ton of signage. There also just lots of the other wineries, it's like as you're driving up to them, you're like driving past the vineyards, you're
It's
going
very
through some
grandiose, though.
trees, you're like, wow, this is where they grow the grapes, even though it's not actually always where they grow the grapes. Anyways, but you feel like you're entering a vineyard. This one is just
It's just a building.
a building.
Yeah, it's in a building in like basically a
It's
strip
there.
mall.
And
But
now and again, I'm like, "Do you sell candles? Do you" like, I didn't know what they did. I didn't know, okay?
so
But now we know.
this is really interesting. The wines that they have there are actually really good for the most part. They have a couple of these really sweet wines that they still grow some of the grapes there themselves, but a lot of these grapes they are bringing in again from California, and they have some really good wines. So again, this is their Gewürztraminer. It is marked as semi-sweet, and it is nice. On the nose, I was getting a ton of peach rings, like the little candy peach rings right away.
I initially was, like, overwhelmed with honey as the source of the sweetness. It's honey and floral is what I was initially getting.
Yeah, there's definitely a heavy floral scent, just like kind of fresh flowers. It's like a
I don't know, would it
lemongrass.
be orange blossom, cherry blossom? I don't
I'd
really
probably go cherry
know.
blossom, but
It's some kind of
the little bit of graphite or like a saline slate kind of,
very slight. And I
yeah,
have to say, we've had this one in the fridge a day now after I opened it.
yeah.
I didn't initially notice the graphite-ness, but I also had it when I was just recently in from being outside by the pool and needed something refreshing.
The palate is more of that honeyed sweetness, but there's a sourness that's coming from not like a lemon necessarily.
A grapefruit?
Yeah, kind of like a white grapefruit.
Mhm.
And I just have apricot stuck in my head, but it's a
I
stone fruit of some sort.
it is some kind of stone fruit in there. I
I don't
couldn't quite name it, but there's a stone fruit. There is I'm debating you said sour. Is it bitter? But, like, in
I don't think it's
a
bitter, because bitter would hit you in like the back of your
that's fair.
throat.
No, it's
It's
not
very
that
mid
way.
palate where that sourness is. But the
It's
nice thing is it
it's
rounds
really
everything
beautiful.
out.
Like the honey sweetness is there. It takes you through the journey, okay? You're getting on the honey sweetness train, and by honey sweetness, it's like a teaspoon of honey in a cup of water, okay? Like it's not hitting you in the face, but it's there. It's there for the ride, okay?
I think a really good way to put this, it is like a iced tea with just a little bit of honey sweetness.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Mhm.
that's kind of the feeling I'm getting from this wine. It is really nice. So for a
And it's
Gewürztraminer,
taking you through a journey, okay? You're going from floral to the sour. It's really beautiful.
you love describing things as going on a journey.
It is a journey.
I don't think it's that intense.
I I have to just I came in from outside. I was sweaty. I was hot. I was unpleasant because I was hot and sweaty. And I looked at our wine rack and I saw this Gershwiner and it felt like my lifeline to survival.
Yeah, so I think you have an emotional attachment
I
to
do.
this right now.
I really do. It saved me.
So I'm gonna give your opinion a -2.
That's reasonable. I respect that. I'm sorry.
But yes, this is very well rounded and very nice for a Gewürztraminer because it's not going to be that very potent sweet. It's not going to be super funky, which I've run into with some Gewürztraminers recently. It has a probably I would say a 3 to 4 sweetness, like 3.5 sweetness with a 3 acidity. This is not a 5. So it's like it balances out very nicely so it doesn't overpower your palate. I think this is a really great bottle, and I'm so glad that we ended up going to Red Oak. But finishing out talking about just the changes in the beverage industry, it's been really interesting just to basically be getting into the beverage industry like we are now and seeing whiskey not as interesting to some people, wine not as interesting. Breweries that we've been to have closed. It's very interesting how there's this shift going on. And I'm curious, the last time there was a giant shift like this, the pendulum swings back eventually. So I'm curious
Mhm.
how far it's going to swing over people having a disinterest to coming back to people having an interest. It's going to be interesting. I know I said that like 30 times in the last 30 seconds, but
The interest is interesting. Interesting, isn't it?
you're such a nuisance tonight.
That's what I do.
Anyways, you guys have made it halfway through the week,
I'm
almost
proud
to
of
the
you.
weekend. You've got this. And if you're trying to survive the heat, you'll
Find a
make it.
Gershverminer. Gershverminer?
You're done.
Gershverminer.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.